The ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will today address Cosatu's 40th anniversary rally at Dobsonville Stadium in Soweto. The Labour Federation was established in 1985 with the aim of securing labour rights and mobilising workers during and after apartheid. Cosatu says the anniversary celebrations come as the country faces high unemployment. Let's go live now to SABC News reporter Natasha Phiri, who joins me now. Natasha, good afternoon. I see that the stadium is slowly starting to fill up, but we are nowhere close, from what we can see at least, nowhere close to capacity and perhaps the crowd that is expected by Cosatu. Tell us where we are in the program of the day and just the appropriateness of President Ramaphosa addressing this gathering, because he was part of the founding cohort of leaders of Cosatu, wasn't he?
Well, thank you so much. Tulis, apologies there if I'm struggling to hear you. It is quite noisy. Of course, the program has started. Workers are coming in, but the stadium isn't full yet. But of course, I'm just joined by two gentlemen. One is Mr. Philip Vilagaz, who's the NUM president. And of course, straight after, I'll be speaking to the SACP General Secretary, Mr. Solim Mapaila. But Vilagaz, before we went on an ad break and we were speaking to our sister show, you were speaking about the unity of, Cosatu, the unity also of the alliance. And of course, this celebration comes at a time where Cosatu is reaching out to its other affiliates that have left to say, listen, how about you come into the fold?
Look, it is a fact that since 1994 to date, in the 31 years of democracy, there is a mixed feeling. We have 10 years in the 31 years where the economy did not show any growth, a new tendency of corruption, the state capture from Zondo Commission, the recommendations. You come today to Babum Kwanazi. If you look at him, this Madlanga Commission is going to Tembisa Hospital. The lady who was shot as a whistleblower. Now the witnesses in the Madlanga Commission. You can see that as human beings we might have failed. Reality is that now is the time for the divine intervention. That is why everybody must go to himself as an individual and check consciously whether we're really ready to serve the community. And if not, we must not use the public platforms to enrich ourselves. And as organizations from the unions, the political parties, including the federation, we need to give focus where we need the most. Ours is to be the mouthpiece of the workers. For the federation is to facilitate a smooth political coexistence of business and the international politics. So if we can say we embrace any element of division, maybe it will be embraced by those who forget how did the black people get their dignity and the birth of democracy in the state. You must understand, colonialism is still mastering everything in the continent. We still have borders. We still have this element of discrimination. The equity that we're talking about, the life that we live is not the same. The infrastructure is dilapidated. And if you look at what kind of service we find in the public hospitals or services, it's shambles, and all those who are serving there are human beings. If we can individually take a decisive decision that we are going to give quality service to our people, then we'll talk about democracy. But if democracy means to be divided and easy, don't count me there. I remain where I know there is a reference point. But if is there anything new that we must start, we need to be schooled first.
And I'm so glad that you actually touched on issues of the commission and other national issues. Before we hand over to Solim Mapaila, I just want to, gauge your sentiments also on other issues, plaguing the alliance. Yes, you speak about unity, but I mean, there seems to be a disjuncture between young people and, the alliance, young people being attracted to the alliance. What can Cosatu do, to make the situation better for a young worker who says, I find no relevance in Cosatu, I find no relevance in NUM? What do you have to say to them?
Look, I'm saying to them, they are correct. The revolution has been mobilized by the system. Now the only thing that young people see is to see pompous people who are using public money to show off, And you cannot blame them for every decision they take. And the voters have grown young, of course. We need not to talk history a lot. We need to be innovative and deliver. These are digital people. They live in a space of technology. All they want is to say, can the education system respond to the need of the AI? Can the education system respond in as far as their kind of digital life is concerned? And if it's not responding, you don't have them to blame. And I can tell you, the liberation movement has slept on duty by leaving the political mass education. Because every people think that everything is for free. There is no free lunch. And if people think in politics, at times there will be free lunch. That is a mistake they are doing. The liberation is all about efforts, and the efforts that needs people to understand that you need to know where you're coming from, because at the end of the day, you will think that you are going forward, only to find you are reversing. And I'm not party to those.
Mr. Phiri, guys, thank you so much for your thoughts and sentiments. Let's just take this conversation further to the SACP, which is also, an alliance partner of Cosatu. Cosatu is turning 40 years old. But of course, this moment is also a somber moment for the alliance to actually reflect on the state of the alliance. You're not happy with your alliance partner, the reconfiguration of the alliance. On Thursday, we heard Cosatu President Cyril saying that the CEC's decision is that they will support the ANC at the polls.
Well, firstly is that we want to wish Cosatu a happy 40th anniversary. This anniversary is a consequence of major sacrifices by these trade unions, the federation ultimately, in which they fought against apartheid regime and won important battles and victories, including the Labor Relations Act under apartheid. So that's very important for workers to appreciate their power, and that they must use that power to unite, to fight the battles, the current battles that continue to exploit and oppress workers, in which they can't find full liberation, even under democracy. Because you can have democracy, but if it doesn't fulfill human needs, it can still be oppressive, particularly under capitalism. That's why the workers must also understand who's their strategic enemy. So to the extent of the relations in the alliance, yes, the alliance is not functioning well at the moment. Lots of meetings, but no agreement on fundamentals, particularly on how to build an economy that is inclusive, the economy that will serve the people of this country, instead of this neoliberal economy that we have been given in the name of inclusivity, that continues to perpetuate the oppression and exploitation of the workers and the people of this country, the working class as a whole. So that's the fundamental problem in the alliance. The political relations, they may be good and so forth, that's something else, but ours was to correct this section in which the economy doesn't respond to the needs of the majority.
And Dr. Mapai, I like the fact that you touch on the working class. You go through the ANC's NGC documents. They also speak about the working class. They also highlight, the relations between the alliance, coming back to that, but the fact that, and I was raising that with the ANC President, that the working class finds no resonance now, in Cosatu. It finds no resonance in the alliance. As the ANC heads to the NGC, what inputs will you be making, especially around issues of the economy? I mean, we've got a high unemployment rate. Workers are losing their jobs as well.
Well, firstly is that the NGC document, the economic section of the NGC document, are much better than what the ANC is doing in government. And I think that's a major contradiction. They say something but do something completely different. I mean, the NEC just adopted what they call the 10-point plan, which was a consequence of a study by Harvard scholars called Growth and Inclusion in South Africa. Then the government launches a program called GAIN, Growth and Inclusion. They just omit in South Africa, as written by the Harvard University scholars. Of course, they collaborated with some local scholars, but it's not an South African thing. Our universities could have still done that on the basis of being located here, understanding our real problems. They could interpret them differently. So then they went to the NEC, they adopted what they call the 10-point economic plan, which is based on this Harvard scholar intervention on how we should resolve our problems. That study doesn't relate to me, doesn't relate to the people in the township of our country, in the villages of our country, and therefore it's irrelevant to the real conditions of our people. So the NGC document rejects neoliberalism and also problematizes the fact that neoliberal economic system, which is an economy in which the most important sections of the economy is handed over to private capital to take care of the people, which has been proven all over the world as a strategic and major failures. This includes things like water, electricity, transportation, and everything else, what they call in the reform language of the IMF and the World Bank, network industry. So you need that to be led by the state. In other words, we need a state-led economy that can take care of everybody.
Dr. Mapaila, unfortunately, I have to wrap. I wanted to ask you about, those reports of plans to oust the president and, of course, national issues, but we will catch up with you later on. Of course, Tula said these are just some of the sentiments that are being echoed here, various views from alliance partners and Cosatu affiliates as Cosatu turns 40 years old. Of course, the program has started. Workers are coming in behind us, but we will be bringing you those live updates of the main speech by Cosatu President Zingisa Losi, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, and of course the SACP's General Secretary, Mr. Soli Mapaila. With that said, it's back to you, Tulas.
All right, thank you for that, Natasha. That's Natasha Phiri for you out at Dobsonville Stadium. It's not looking great in terms of the numbers. I don't know, maybe the workers are still making their way in. It's not a particularly big venue, but of course Cosatu will have had their reasons why they chose that venue. Let's see how that pans out over the coming hours.